The Martha Creek project really dates back to a study that Tulalip was involved in back in the early 2010s, where they looked at these small coastal streams in the Whidbey Basin throughout Port Susan to try and get a handle on how important they are for the life cycle for local and endangered salmon populations. The closer that these small coastal streams are to a big system like the Stillaguamish, the more meaningful they are for juvenile fish. And so as juvenile fish outmigrate from the Stillaguamish, they need small creeks like this to kind of duck off in and hang out in and get big while kind of avoiding the sometimes potentially nasty ocean conditions. Martha Lake is really what drives the hydrology and the water levels in Martha Creek. Historically, this creek was ditched and put through multiple culverts way back in the 50s by the current landowner. The creek came down, hit the county road, Soundview Drive, and after that it went through a very narrow ditch, about maybe 4 to 5 feet wide max, flowed through a field completely overgrown with invasive species, flowed through almost completely plugged corrugated metal pipe, took a bend, and then flowed about a couple hundred feet more downstream through a 18-inch concrete pipe, which conveyed flows fine during the summertime, but during the wintertime, it would really just act as a fire hose and spew out water. Really inhospitable to fish, especially juvenile fish, who really would have a hard time making it up there. Very first day involved a lot of site prep, so getting equipment out here mobilized, getting things ready. And one of the things we had to do was there was an old well that used to be used for agricultural purposes. As soon as we popped the lid off that well, we found about 30 to 40 garter snakes swirling around in the water in there. And so grabbed a net, started fishing snakes out of the well and relocating them around. And so I think they were appreciative that it wasn't just the salmon that were saved here. It was we saved some garter snakes out here as well. So. We were able to team up with Blue Coast Engineering, came up with some really awesome designs that we were able to vet back and forth with the landowners. So it was kind of a step-by-step process of making sure the landowners were on board with what we were proposing, but while also making sure that this project was going to end up being a positive project for fish. Where once we got on site, we dug some test pits, found out what kind of sediment we were working with, and then from there, the designs really started to take shape, where the Blue Coast Engineering was able to come up with some really innovative modeling ideas where they looked at what the flow of this creek naturally would be unimpeded by culverts, come up with a geometry of a channel that would be able to naturally convey that flow. And so we really wanted to hone in on the flood flows. So 50-year, 100-year flooding, what amount of flow are those events carrying? And we wanted to craft and design a channel that would be able to convey those flows without overtopping its banks and flooding and causing headaches for the landowner. The creek is fully wetted up, kind of at the lowest flow that it possibly will be, which is great for construction. But now the true test is going to be wintertime. When Martha Lake charges up and flows start coming down the creek, that's what historically caused issues for this creek. And so it'll really be a chance to see if our designs are what they were designed to be. That is to hold those flows and for the creek to act more like a natural system in carrying its own sediment downstream, not becoming a huge aggregational site for fine sediment, sands and silts, or becoming overgrown with invasive species again. And so we're really looking to kind of monitor, but also maybe adaptively manage this project. We're going to come in, we're going to plant native species, and we're going to make sure that the wood that we put into the creek is functioning as intended, and that really that just the design that we implemented out here is functioning to convey that winter storm flow.